Okay, members, we're live again now, and I see we have someone in the chat box here. It's Councillor Boyle. Councillor Boyle. John Boyle. You hear me? Just move on. Okay, so and members, we're all live again now. So for summing up, I'm going to pass over to Philip Kingston. You take us through the summary.
Thank you, Chair. So just to confirm that whilst in confidential business, members considered the application for an entertainment licence. Members expressed concerns about the number of incidents in relation to these premises that have been logged by PSNI and noted that this seemed to contradict the evidence which they had received from the applicant. The committee noted that they were impressed by the evidence of Ms Kavanagh in relation to the circumstances that she had personally experienced significant disturbance. They considered whether or not the licence could be granted with condition, but ultimately the committee resolved unanimously that only refusal of the licence could meet the concerns which the committee had that people within the area would be unreasonably disturbed if the licence was granted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Philip, for that there. Members, Mrs Kavanagh and Paul Larkin, we reached our decision as a committee, and as Philip has outlined there, we have ruled in favour not to reissue the entertainments licence. This will need to be ratified by full council at the end of. No, do we? No, it's just by committee. Sorry, my mistake there. It won't be. It's standing as it is now. Thank you, Mrs. Kavanagh, for coming in and speaking to committee today and putting your case across really well. I know that obviously living in the area, you don't get much peace, but maybe it'll give you a bit of peace of mind there after this meeting today. And I'll confirm that we will be writing to the applicant to inform him of the decision made. So, Mrs. Kavanagh, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for listening to what I had to say, and thank yous all. Just
okay, thank you, Mrs. Kavanagh. Is there any other members wishing to speak? Everyone okay with it? Councillor Boyle, yes, come in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, thanks for letting me. And again, just to identify, I'm not a member of the committee, albeit I have to say that I don't understand the decision or the advice which suggested that other elected members couldn't sit in and listen to the deliberations of this particular committee. I find it very unusual. In my view, perhaps advice would have been don't ask questions, don't contribute, but I think we should have been entitled to at least listen. I've been elected by the people of the Moor DEA, and I now feel that I'm sitting somewhat in the dark. I can ask my colleagues, but that will be second-hand information, and I think I should have at least been allowed to listen. So I want to put that on the record. I don't think that that was, and I'm not criticising you. I really am. I'm flabbergasted to see that that's the level of advice that came your way. And perhaps that if the city solicitor feels that he would want to explain why that was, then I'd be happy to listen to that. But I don't know. That's my point. I don't know why not.
Okay, Councillor Boyle, thank you for that. Philip, would you like to come in there?
Chair, just to indicate that obviously in a situation where a committee is sitting in a quasi-judicial function and where that committee determines that it wishes to go into confidential business in order to consider the rationale for its the decision that it wants to make, debate that, then it is the committee members that are performing the quasi-judicial function, the regulatory function, that are entitled to do that in space. And non-members of the committee are in no different position than members of the public when it comes to that particular matter. The committee is obliged to give the reasons for its decision in relation to the matter in open business, and those reasons for its decision have now been given. So Councillor Boyle has the information available to him as to the decision that the council made, or that the committee made, and the rationale for that decision, and that would be standard practice.
Okay, thank you, Philip, for the explanation. John, do you want to come back in there on that?
Yeah, I'm not going to prolong it. I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all, Chair. The Planning Committee is a quasi-judicial committee of this council, and other members can sit in on the Planning Committee, and they can also sit on the confidential business of the Planning Committee. So there's, for me, there's an inconsistency in that, and that would need to be looked at. And again, I mean, no criticism, but I find it as an elected representative for the area concerned, where my constituents are bringing forward concerns, that I actually can't hear them. And that's my point. And I'll rest it at that, Chair, if that's okay with you. But I can't sit here in all good conscience and allow myself to be disenfranchised in this particular manner, or indeed other representatives from the Moore district electoral area or any other district electoral area that might be concerned with an issue of this nature.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle, for that. Philip, you want to come back in?
Just to make the brief point that, as Councillor Boyle is aware, whenever the Planning Committee is making its, whenever the Planning Commission is exercising its regulatory function, its quasi-judicial function, that the Planning Committee has determined that it will do that in open business, and therefore everybody is able to hear the decision of the Council in relation to the protocol that applies to this committee. Is that whenever the committee decides to determine make its determination in relation to this matter, that it chooses to go into confidential business. So the protocols which have been determined by the council in relation to the manner in which these matters are dealt with are different as between the two committees.
Just to save me typing in the chat box, and again, I don't really want to do a to and fro on this. However, I would suggest that that particular protocol then is reviewed and changed. As you can tell, I'm not terribly impressed by that. And I don't dispute what the city solicitor is saying. I understand that. I do appreciate that. However, if we are going to operate in an entirely transparent nature, then that might be a review as well. And I know that we're reviewing protocols anyway, so perhaps that one could be noted, and my concerns around it might be considered. Thank you, Chair. That's me done with that one.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. No doubt that might noted. Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Chair. No, all I want to say is that I'm glad that this was a unanimous decision within this committee, and I think the right one at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Councillor Donnelly.
Thanks for letting me in. I'm not a member of this committee. I'd just like to say I share the same concerns as Councillor Boyle, but I would also like to say that I think the committee made the correct decision in this case, and that's going from my experience from talking to the residents in and around that area. So I do believe it's a correct decision, but I think it's unfortunate that councillors couldn't have had that access to the debate and discussion. Thanks for letting me on, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Folks, there's no more indicated speakers, so I think we'll finish up on this by thanking PSNI Officer Paul Larkin for coming in and giving us information on the licence, and also thanks to Mrs. Kavanagh for her input. It took a lot of courage to come and stand up against, because we know that you can be seen as public enemy number one when you stand up and take a stand for things that you believe in. But well done, and it seems to have worked out and well for you.
Sorry, thank you very much.
No problem. So members will just go back in the normal business now, and matters arising, item 6, pages 1 to 34. Is anyone members looking to come in?
Chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Harkin.
Yeah. So this is in reference to HC 80/21, where we discuss advice services, and we've agreed to an important motion or resolution of action around our advice services at the last Health Committee meeting. That was ratified, and we subsequently have met with all 3 of our advice providers. And I think that those meetings were very, very important, that we did that. And I came out of those, concerned at a number of decisions that had been coming through, the potential decisions that had been coming through the advice services panel. So I feel more confident now that there is something seriously problematic on a number of fronts with the proposals, as everybody knows, that our council was planning to cut significant amount of funding for 2 of our advice providers. I believe now, after those discussions with the advice providers, that the basis on which we were doing that was fundamentally flawed. And we are still discussing it in the advice panel, but that I will be continuing to challenge the way in which this has been done, and I know that others are in agreement. The second thing is I myself and others have been critical of how the COVID emergency response has been organised through our district council, in the sense that we said some people were included, some people were left out, and that there was ways that it could have been more inclusive. I believe that in relation to the decision to cut funding for some of our advice services, there is a serious issue about how the community response has been organised. So I'm not putting forward a proposal today, but I am getting this on record, because we will be working on how to address this, because I believe that this is there are fundamental issues here for our whole council to have a look at, and that if it goes unaddressed, there will be serious problems. The outworkings of the things that I've mentioned have been not good in terms of the morale of our advice providers, nor have they been good in terms of nor also it would have led to people losing their job. It would have led to, I believe, one of our advice providers being potentially put out of business and unable to function. So that's how serious this is, and I think we are going to have to grapple with this and deal with it. So, as I said, I'm not making a proposal now, but I'm getting this on record, because I don't believe this is something that can be ignored. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. No indicated speakers on that, so Councillor McHugh.
Thanks, Chair. First of all, Chair, just want to say I think you have to take them accuracy first before matters arising. We're doing the minutes, aren't we?
Yeah. Just confirm. Sorry. Confirm for accuracy. Thank you
right.
for pointing that out. Right. Propose and seconder.
Propose them, Chair.
Okay.
Seconded, Morris.
Chair, under matters arising, HC 72/20/20, HC 76/21. Just there, it mentions Mitchell Park there, Chair. At Sports Committee, it was discussed about the the ongoing drainage issue at Mitchell Park. Their councillors be well aware of it. It's something that has proven specifically problematic over the years, and we were told that it would be very pricey to address it. But thankfully, we were told the Sports Committee that they're now looking at options. They've come up with options to address that drainage issue. I'm just wondering, has any of the officers any update in terms of have they arrived at a decision of what measures they're going to put in place there to address the drainage? What system have they agreed on, or have they agreed on one as yet? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Barry, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, through yourself, Chair. Yeah, we're still working through that, Councillor McHugh, but as we mentioned, the Sports Committee, there's a fairly cheaper than doing extensive capital works that will resolve the issue, but we're still working it through with grounds maintenance, the team to see is it a goer. It will improve it, and it's just to what extent. So when we do have the detail around that, we'll bring it in through the Sports Committee and then bring it back in through our pitches update report as we progress with the works over the course of this year. We're spending hundreds of thousands around pitches, so we'll definitely include that as an update in terms of where we're at as well.
Cormac, thank you, Chair.
All our indicated speakers, so we'll move on to item 8, extension to existence license agreement for the use of Northside units. Barry again.
Members, the purpose of this is to seek your approval for the extension by 3 months of a license agreement between Council and Northside, and this is for Shantallow residents to continue to operate out of there over that period of time while they're getting ready to go into the new Shantallow Community Centre. And it's £180 a week as per the previous LPS evaluation. So we're seeking your approval to extend that by 3 months, members.
Thank you, Barry, for that. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and more than happy to propose this. It's good to see that the work is continuing on the new community centre, and we really look forward to getting into it. But in the meantime, the important work that SCRA do has continued over the course of the time that they've been out, and having that base at Northside has greatly helped them in terms of the community response that they have been part of around COVID. So happy to propose this report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Councillor Farrell.
Fastest fingers first here. So Sandra just got in marginally ahead of me. I'm obviously happy to second this. I walked down through Shantallow last week and I saw the new community centre, and it's coming on great. And I look forward to that opening in June. It's a massive investment in the Ballyarnett area, as is the new community centre that is being built in Gallia as well. So fantastic news for Ballyarnett, and happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. No more indicated speakers, so move on to item 9, COVID-19 Food and Essential Supplies Transition Fund. Barry again.
Thanks, Chair. Members, the purpose of this is to seek your approval for additional funding we've received from the Department for Communities around our COVID-19 Food and Essential Items Transition Fund. Members, most of you will be aware that between November and March this year, over 3,000 families in need have benefited from the Access to Food programme. In response to the need, particularly around food poverty, the local growth partnerships have been working closely with Apex Housing, Social Supermarket, the Church's Voluntary Trust, Boyle Food Bank, and Strabane Community Project. And these organisations are involved in the delivery of food banks and social supermarkets and have been well placed to provide interventions in the area of food poverty. At this stage, as part of a gradual process of exit for the remaining clients still registered on this partnership programme, it's considered a 3-month exit programme is required, while at the same time working with all partners to help address the root cause for the poverty, advocate for change, and ultimately drive down the number of families who require food parcels and food bank support. So members, this project will provide resources to the lead partners identified in the food programme, Foyle Food Bank, the Apex Social Supermarket, and the Church's Voluntary Trust to support the exit of existing families from their food programme. During this 3-month period, consultation with a range of partners, other councils and Department for Communities will be undertaken in order to share best practice and prepare a proposal to be presented to members in June in relation to a transition from the temporary emergency food support with a focus on strategic and sustainable approaches to food poverty and insecurity. So members, the entire amount of this additional budget is all funded from DFC, and the exit programme for 3 months and attached in your appendices is a cost of 36,687. A further report, as highlighted, members, will be presented in relation to delivery of the remaining £129,105. So members, in terms of a recommendation that you approve the following allocations to existing lead partners to support the exit from the Access to Food programme. You'll see that in section 5.1.
Thank you, Barry, for the presentation. And Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to propose the report and welcome it today. And I also just want to take the opportunity to welcome or to comment on the work done to all organisations during the past year in this pandemic. The work in the community and voluntary sector across the board. I think the figures speak for themselves in terms of the reports that we've been given and the amount and the enormous effort that's been put in. So I just want to put that on record. Also, I probably should just declare an interest as being part of the MIR Local Growth Partnership. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Tina, for that there. I've you down as a proposer, and Councillor Barr just beat Councillor Mooney, so Councillor Barr's seconded. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Barr?
No, I'd just like to. I agree totally with the presentation, Chair, and I'd like to declare an interest too as part of Strabane.
Okay, Councillor Mooney.
No, Chair, I'm fine. I'm just happy to acknowledge the content of the reports and the distribution of the funds. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. We're moving on to item 10, reopening of outdoor sports, as announced earlier.
Thanks, Chair.
Go ahead there, Barry.
This probably, Chair, has been superseded by a lot of the executive announcements today, and so members, the purpose of the report is to inform you on the planned reopening of outdoor sports facilities, which has begun as of Monday past, and linked to the executives moving forward on the 5-step roadmap for the relaxation of restrictions. So members, we have been open with our outdoor facilities, our pitches, our 3G, our dog track, athletics track, tennis courts and things like that since this Monday past, the 12th of April. You'll see in section 3.4, there is a certain limit based on current COVID restrictions based on the age groups of 18 over 13 to 18 and under 12, and all of these restrictions are also inclusive of coaches and the numbers allowed in those groups. So members, you'll see in section 3.6 the facilities that we've opened. We've also made available some of our grass pitches for bookings for clubs that wish to avail of that as well. And obviously we're watching with interest the latest release today from the executive. So at present, the outdoor facilities, you have to be an affiliated sports club and you're required to follow your national governing body of sport protocol. And officers have complied some guidance for sports clubs in preparation of reopening, and we've carried that out over the last week to 10 days, assisting clubs where we can. And members, it has been nearly full compliance with most of our clubs assisting us in the best way we can, but we have had some issues in non-COVID compliance around restrictions this week, and some of our staff, probably taking abuse that they don't deserve, just trying to make sure that everyone's safe. So it would be greatly appreciated if elected members, I think Karen has sent a note around it, that members would also assist in getting that messaging out that council staff have a job to do, and they're trying to keep everyone safe, and they're not there probably to take verbal abuse and trying to implement the council and national governing body policy. So I know Karen has sent a note out on that, but it has been nearly full compliance. There's been one or two exceptions, and we'll deal with that within our internal processes. But that's a quick summary, Chair. There'll be more detail obviously following the executive announcements today.
Thank you, Barry, for that there. Councillor McHugh.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Barry for the report there. Totally endorse what he's saying there around the return to sports. It's great to see, particularly our young people, back out again, getting fit and active, which will benefit through exercise and mental health, obviously. Unfortunate to hear that some members of staff or staff member have endured verbal abuse. Nobody likes to see that. As Barry says, they're there to do a job for the benefit of the entire community. I know we got an email yesterday about a meeting being set up between the local sports bodies to discuss a kind of coordinated approach to the reopening of all these facilities, and to make sure everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. Is there any date yet for that meeting? Another issue, just quick issue I'd like to raise, is with the reopening of the outdoor pitches at Melvin. I know that there was some issues around traffic there during the week. As Barry be aware, it's a bottleneck, the road ended there. Is there any possibility that the car park there at Melvin could be open now to the public? I'm conscious maybe that these issues could be discussed at that meeting we received notice about yesterday, but I'd like to hear a comment just around the car parking issue there at Melvin. Thank you, Chair.
Members, just to confirm firstly that the information session is on the 21st at 6:30. So notice is going out to you. We're just getting governing bodies confirmed at the moment. And in response to the car parking issue, we met today as a leisure and sports team, and we're meeting again tomorrow to respond to that. And yes, I think there will be a view that we're looking and needing to remobilise more of our facilities, so we will take the car parking into consideration at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Karen. Alderman Devaney.
Chair, for allowing me in. Just like the previous speaker, I would like to echo his comments that we welcome coming back again, the reopening of our outdoor sports, and our young people out there, everyone back out again. Maybe we'll deal with some of the mental health issues and the pressure that a lot of people have been under, not being able to facilitate these. But I would like to put on record, Chair, that look, totally abhor, any verbal abuse on our staff. Our staff are there to do a job, and I know it's difficult circumstances, but they're not to be used as a punch bag or anything like that there, especially with verbal abuse. I think it's wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Devaney. Councillor Edwards.
Chair, thanks for letting me in. And like previous speakers, we do condemn any sort of abuse that's going to any of the staff, any of the council staff. It's completely unacceptable. And I also welcome sports coming back. Chair, I would just like to ask a question. It's been raised with me locally regarding outdoor sports. A number of private gyms have contacted me, and they were raising concern that facilities and council were opening, but yet they're not able to have any outdoor classes. I wonder, could Seamus or any of the rest of the officers be able to provide some clarity on that? I imagine it may be because of something to do with the sport governing body, but I would like some clarity nonetheless. Thank you, Chair.
Need answers?
Go ahead.
Members Barry and Seamus can come in and keep me correct in that, but yes, you are allowed to deliver outdoor exercise programs. If you are affiliated to a governing body or affiliated to a leisure-based, I suppose, industry grouping such as UK Active, GGL, for example, and there are others. The same, I suppose, social distancing and numbers requirements being set at 15 apply. However, that's changing, so there should be no barrier, assuming that an individual PT or gym holds an affiliated accreditation, either individually or as a coach or as an organisation. That should still be possible. So open to any other commentary from the rest of the team.
Barry, do you want to come in there and say anything, or are you okay? Or
no, Karen's 100% correct. Similar to the sports groups, the only difficulty would be if an outdoor gym, for example, tried to book one of our pitches. Our pitches are insured and bookable for sports governing bodies to hire out, and obviously only allowed so many players per week, so that wouldn't be permitted. But anywhere else, outdoor space, as long as the necessary public liability insurance, then there should be no difficulty.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Alderman Hussey.
Just quickly checking the regulations that are coming down at the minute, and there's quite a few of them. From the 30th of April, individuals can operate in gyms, as individuals rather than group exercises inside in gyms.
Yeah, thank you, Derek, for that. I've no other indicated speakers, so I'll just wrap up by saying that is great news to see on the 23rd of April, outdoor organised competitive sport being permitted again, and obviously with training kicking in this week, they'll be all raring to go. And on the 30th of April, gyms and swimming pools and 1-to-1 training. So no doubt the officers will have it up against them now to get this sorted for them. But look, our staff do a great job looking after leisure centres and the members of public that use them. They're not there to be abused. They're there to provide a service, and it's not on. No matter what member of staff, whether it be leisure, cleansing department, like we've seen in the past, it's not on. It shouldn't happen, and everybody should be able to go to their work in peace. So we'll move on here to item 11, dog control update. So Seamus.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on the Responsible Dog Ownership campaign aimed at tackling dogfighting across the council area and the implementation of 3 dog control orders on the 5th of April. The report also advises members that council has entered into a lease agreement with a local dog animal charity to provide kenneling and related services from the council shelter at Pennyburn Industrial Estate. Members, due to increasing reports about dogfighting during the current COVID pandemic and associated lockdowns, council implemented a dogfighting initiative which involved approximately 40 additional staff carrying out patrols of problem areas throughout the council area. The initiative also included the installation of dog foul bins and signage, a coordinated cleansing programme along with a focused media campaign. Members, the findings of the patrol are included in Appendix 1 for information, and the Mayor also led a campaign with support from members to promote the dogfighting initiative, which was very successful and had significant media interest. A public notice informing the public that the new dog control orders came into effect on the 5th of April has been publicised in local newspapers, council website and social media channels. And members, the report outlines the costs associated with the dogfighting initiative, including provision of additional staff to carry out patrols and the delivery of a marketing programme. Members, the recommendation is that members are asked to consider whether to extend the campaign using the current level of staff resource to the end of April or May at the approximate cost of $23,500 per month, or extend the campaign with a reduced level of patrols and associated number of staff, and finally cease the campaign. So members, the report is there for consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Seamus, for the report. Number of indicated speakers. Councillor Ferguson first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Seamus. And I wanted to welcome the lengthy report. It's got a number of different aspects on it, and particularly for myself, to officially say congratulations to Pet FBI and the team and council for that collaboration. I think it's amazing, and I look forward to seeing the pound whenever it's now under Pet FBI's management. I think that's something that our council has done very well in the initiative, and finding a more compassionate way forward when it comes to our strays and making sure that they're rehomed. I also think that the mayor's campaign was absolutely amazing. You know, it was really reached out to many different areas and covered our whole district. I see that there was 14,000 actions recorded. Obviously, only 5 offences, but it's still good to see them being counted and more people out in the street. The dog control orders. I was going to ask about the kind of way it would be communicated after, but I can see on this in the report that there will be special signs with QR codes, because there is a bit of confusion on where dogs are excluded, but that will be color coded. So I'm happy to welcome the report. I'm happy to propose that we extend the campaign with reduced levels of patrols and maybe possibly review it at some point, because I don't think we can currently keep the cost of the full resource, but I do think we still need that level of some sort of resources on the street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and Councillor Ferguson sort of outlined it there. In terms of the Pet FBI and the Pound Initiative, I actually think it's an excellent initiative, really thinking outside the box in terms of how we can address the issue. And I know I've been looking at the social media around it this week, and it's been so positive to see. So I really do welcome and congratulate everybody that was involved in that. In terms of the recommendations, I would be happy as well to go with that recommendation that we extended with reduced levels of patrols. I know myself over the course of the last number of months have been doing a lot of work locally around dogfighting and around the installation of additional dog bins and stuff. So it is still an issue, and with lockdown even, hopefully people will get back into normal routines and stuff. But it has to be said that the increased patrols, the increased signage, the increased media attention around it did highlight the issue and hopefully shame a lot of people into being more responsible dog owners. So no, I would be happy enough to second that proposal. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duffy. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. Can I congratulate Seamus and anyone in bringing forward what is an extremely comprehensive report on the issue. And just one wee bit of clarification. I think the question and answer section at the end is absolutely brilliant, and I can't think of a question, although no doubt there will be questions coming up, but I can't think of one that hasn't been answered in that. Just one wee bit on control when in parks, etc. The issue of the dog has to be on a lead when on a path within a park, but if the owner is off the path, the dog can be off the lead. Is that correct?
Yeah, Alderman Hussey, that is correct, but it's important to note that the dog still must be under control.
And there is a question as to what is under control, and it's perfectly outlined there. No, it's just that wee bit of clarity, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Hussey. Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah. Thank you to the officers for putting together the report, Seamus, and I know a tremendous amount of work has gone into this, and it is having an impact because even, I've run into people and people are talking about dog bins and we need more of them, but that means the education campaign's working. and people are thinking about it more. So I guess I would have, one of my questions is the potential for more provision of dog bins, because I think a lot of the dog bins are outside of residential areas, and maybe that's not fully accurate, but that's the impression people have, that they're at kind of shops or main streets. So I'm wondering about the potential for more dog foul bins to be in residential areas. The second is just in terms of, like, you know, workers who the wardens who have been in the parks or on the streets. I mean, it is a difficult job, right? And I know that the advice that they're given is not to be confrontational, because they're there by themselves, and they're not necessarily issuing a fine, or but that if they do say to somebody, listen, that's a fineable offence because your dog is just you know, dirtied over there, that could be confrontational. So I'm wondering, is some workers have said they would prefer to be out in groups of two. It might be easier. And then just another issue is, you know, about the workers themselves having access to bathrooms, because not, you know, I mean, I know the restrictions is easing now, so there'll be more facilities opening up, but it hasn't been the case that people have had access to bathrooms themselves, and they're, you know, they've driven to where they're working. And so I'm just wondering if those issues come up, the officers from, you know, from workers who are out on the ground trying to deal with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harkin. I'll go to Councillor Edwards next. Then.
Yep, Chair, I just want to thank the officers for the report as well, and I want to thank our Mayor for coming out to Sion Mills with myself to raise the issue, and Sion Mills has been prolific. Also want to thank the council staff, the additional staff that were brought on. I've met a lot of them in Sion Mills and Castle Derry and Victoria Bridge in particular. They've done a great job. And lastly, Chair, I was going to ask as well about the dog control order, but Alderman Hussey has asked about it, but happy to support the proposal brought by Councillor Ferguson. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Edwards. I'll just do it, and then you can come in there, Seamus, as well. I just want to ask, with the reopening of leisure centres on the 30th, how will it affect the provision of staff to assist dog wardens?
Chair, yeah, just to clarify, in terms of the reopening of leisure, there shouldn't be a big impact in terms of the staff resource, and we would have a large number of staff currently who are casuals, so hopefully the impact will be minimal, and we'll keep that under review. In terms of Councillor Harkin's queries, we will continue to monitor the usage of bins, and the environment team have done an excellent job in terms of the provision of bins to date, and that's kept under review. And I suppose the important thing is that there's a reasonable number and they're located in appropriate locations. In terms of utilising the staff resource, we would like to ensure that we maximise that resource and try not to double up as much as possible. And it's important to note that staff are not carrying out enforcement activities. And I suppose if there was enforcement duties required, we would be happy enough to maybe double up on the resource. In terms of the provision of facilities, again, the patrols are flexible and staff can choose the start and finish times, and in terms of their lunch breaks and where they start and finish the patrol.
Thank you, Seamus, for that there. Councillor Mooney.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me on. Just like to thank Seamus for the report and for just to concur with what was said. But just one point, if we do accept recommendation 5.1.3, what would the reduced level of function for staff be like? Is there any quantification or any information as to what the reduced levels would be? Are we talking about half the provision at the minute or whatever? Just some real information for ourselves. Thank you, Chair.
I'll just take
Yeah, through you, Chair, Councillor Mooney, we will be reviewing, as I say, we were waiting for the decision made by committee this afternoon, and we will review the protocols and the times and the resource currently available, and again, whether there will be an impact on other service areas. The intention would be to reduce it probably at least to half, and just ensure, and we'll keep that under review. And with members' permission, we may be able to increase and decrease along the way.
That's great. Thank you, Seamus.
Councillor Barr, next there.
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, Chair, there does seem to be a huge shortage of waste bins and even litter bins. Is there a reason for this?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barr. Seamus, do you want to come in there?
Through you, Chair, yeah, Councillor Barr, we would probably need to liaise with the environment team who provide the bins for both foul and land litter. And I suppose it's getting that balance between the appropriate number and the appropriate locations. And again, these bins need to be emptied on regular basis, and there's a staff resource related to that as well. So we will liaise with the environment team and try and ensure that there is adequate provision.
Thank you, Seamus.
Hello.
Thank you, Chair. It's Seamus, look, thanks for that report, but it's just on the matter of dog fouling bans. I'm aware that there are no bans at all out what is commonly known as the line. It's a very popular walkway. Now, I have been speaking to John Quinn and other council officers about this, and they've assured me that, you know, there is a shipment of bins coming. They're actually waiting for them, but there's no litter bins, there's no dog fouling bins. When you actually, I think from the playing pitches onwards, and that's quite, some dog walkers have said to me, like they can walk an hour and a half, 2 hours with a dog fouling bag in their hand. And so I would be asking, if possible, could this area be prioritised whenever the bans come in, that this is made a priority, please?
Yeah, through you, Chair, Councillor Loke, we will liaise with the environment team, and I should have mentioned that we will plot all the locations of the bins to tie in with the dog control orders as well, and we'll ensure that there is bins placed in that location.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. Members, we have the recommendation by Councillor Ferguson, 5.1.3, extend the campaign with a reduced level of patrols and associated number of staff. I think everybody's in agreement with that. If there anyone who isn't, can they let me know now? Everybody happy with that, so that recommendation passes. So we'll move on to item 12, deputations update. Karen? Sorry, Rory, did you want to come in on that, or this item 12?
This item 12.
That's okay. No, that's
after
okay.
Karen. Yeah.
Yep, go ahead there, Karen.
Members, the report is tabled and it's quite self-explanatory, so I don't intend to go through the full detail. You'll see that there's quite a significant amount of business to be concluded through this committee with 5 outstanding deputations. There are other pressures arising from other council meetings with deputations to be heard during May. So my proposal is, if it's accepted to you, that we receive the 2 deputations on addiction services and drugs at a special meeting of the 10th of May. I have spoken to some of the proposers and seconders to those motions, who've indicated that they would be content to have the business managed in that way. So the decision for yourself, members.
Okay, thank you, Karen, for that. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak on 2 issues here. One would be to support the recommendation with a very, very slight amendment, and the other would be to inquire about an outstanding delegation. So we're happy with the recommendation, but in terms of groups from the addiction sector, I would like to also extend an invitation to Heal the Hurt, specifically Liam Stewart. I would like him involved in that conversation. He does a lot of great work in the addiction sector, and I think it would be really beneficial to hear what he has to say. In terms of the other deputation, I remember that there was supposed to be a special health and community meeting in early November, where we were expecting the Western Trust and to talk about the rebuild plans. And I'm conscious that the Health Minister launched the rebuild plan for April, May, June on Tuesday, and the Western Trust published their rebuild plan. So I've got a question regarding that. Are we expecting the Western Trust and soon to brief us on that rebuild plan? Thank you.
Members, in terms of the Trust's presentation, we had sort of a standing arrangement that we had 3 to 4 presentations from the Trust annually to this committee. That was the last scheduled meeting. The Trust were unable, because of COVID pressures, to make themselves available for that. So that invitation remains open. We can refresh whether the situation has now moved forward in terms of the availability of members. So I suppose the other issues that are outstanding in terms of our committee are Western Urgent Care. We've had a number of requests made to us, but not received the supporting documentation from Lotus Wellbeing, from the ICP. And there are probably a number of integrated presentations to committee arising from the Northwest Ministry of Youth and the proposed amalgamation of our youth representative structures with EA, and from Derry Healthy Cities in terms of their WHO designation process and application for the next phase of that. We'll pursue the Trust, but really we are waiting on a date to be provided from their team.
Thank you, Karen, and thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Rory. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and I appreciate that. I appreciate as well Rory's addition to the recommendation there that we include Heal the Hurt. I would though go further now. There are a number of other organisations that do start and work in terms of addictions. We're not going to list them all and get them all in, because obviously it's already a long list, but I would be happy enough for Heal the Hurt to attend as well. But a further addition to the recommendation I would like to make is that the Mayor urgently convenes the Civic Forum. It has been a great forum in the past and a great opportunity for us to liaise with statutory agencies, voluntary agencies across a wide range of issues, including addictions, including homelessness, and then of course the Crisis Intervention Service as well. So I would like to add that addition to it, that we get the Civic Forum back up and running, because I think that we have missed that opportunity to liaise directly and have those collaborative conversations with the providers. So if I could make that an additional recommendation, thank you.
Go ahead there, Seamus. Yeah.
Chair, thanks for letting me in. Councillor Duffy, just to confirm that the next Civic Forum meeting is on the 26th of April, and there is an agenda actually set, so hopefully it's either going to be issued hopefully by tomorrow at the latest.
Seamus, that's brilliant.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. Thank you, Sandra. Alderman Hussey.
No, Chair, that was my point. 26th April, meeting set.
Right. Go on there to item 13, Health and Community Directorate Annual Service Delivery Plan. Karen?
Members, we've tabled our annual plan for your comment. It's obviously a draft plan until you have the opportunity to feed into it, and we'll amend as required and re-present to you. I suppose firstly, thanks both to Barry and Seamus and their wider teams within the Directorate for making all of this work happen. And I suppose secondly, members, to you as a committee for your interest and continued support and taking forward a very widespread agenda of business as we progress. So members, we've set out, I suppose, our intention around our lead performance indicator. You will see that we have other service improvement objectives contained within the plan around quality, around efficiency, around engagement, and so forth. So members, I suppose, rather than labouring the issue, because it's been a fairly extensive meeting, we're happy to take questions and any other suggestions in terms of work that you would like to see us take forward over the next year.
Councillor McHugh.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Karen for the report. Chair, within the report, it makes reference to the community toilet scheme. My query is in relation to that. Obviously, I was concerned to hear that at Business and Culture Committee on Monday that £20,000 was earmarked through DFC funding towards the community toilet scheme at Castledare Leisure Centre. Because it hadn't been spent, it was now withdrawn. I know there's, well, I hope there's provision there that we can apply for it once again. But obviously, Seamus would know this, that you know, the public toilet in Castledare has been taken away. We have the community toilet scheme in operation, but as I say, there was money earmarked there for the Derry Valley Leisure Centre, the community, the Change in Places toilet facility. Can Seamus maybe clarify if we aren't able to apply for that money from the EFC in the incoming year, can Council give a guarantee that Council will come up with the money to allow that facility, much needed facility, I have to say, to proceed on time? Thank you.
Seamus, do you want to come in there?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, Councillor McHugh, unfortunately, although we had the full level of funding secured from two different sources, because the works were not completed within the 2021 financial year, a proportion of that funding didn't materialise. Council may have an opportunity to resubmit the application. I would be hopeful that that opportunity will arise shortly. But again, if that doesn't materialise, we will look to see if the funds required to complete that project can be secured.
Chair, can I come back on there just?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks, Seamus, for that response. I know you can't guarantee that the Council will come up with that money, but I suppose I'm just seeking assurance that Council officers will do everything in their power to try and identify funding from savings elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Alderman Hussey.
Chair, just to fully support Councillor McHugh on that particular issue. I think the next day there was actually further information come out from Council that the project and indeed the Strathroy project, which was also included within that withdrawal of funding from DFC. Well, when I received the follow-up, and I'm sure Councillor Ferguson will agree, I got the feeling, or what it said to me was, look, Council is doing this no matter what. And indeed, my understanding is the 20,000 was not it was an assistance of 20,000, and that everything is basically ready to roll on those. But I totally support what Rory Councillor McHugh is saying there. This issue needs to be resolved because, as he says, the public toilets in Castleberg have been removed, and they were removed very much on the basis that, yes, we were getting community toilet scheme, but also the changing places toilet was to be located locally in the local leisure centre. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. You want to come back in there? Seamus, are you okay? No, you're right. There wasn't really.
Chair, just to confirm that, yeah, I will follow up on that and report back, and we'll do our best to try and earmark the additional funding required.
Thank you, Seamus. I need a seconder for that.
I proposed.
Seconded, Alderman Devaney.
Oh, there. Folks, open for information. Is there any, right, Derek, I'm 16. Anyone else wishes to come in on any item there? Derek, if you want to go ahead and speak in 16. Karen, do you want to?
Yeah, it's the consultation, page 291, DFC consultation on new sport and physical activity strategy for Northern Ireland. Consultation finishes the 23rd. I suppose it's a question to Barry, really, or the director generally. For physical activity, you need physical locations for these to take place, and we know our own consultations and reports have indicated the shortage of pitches, particularly in Strabane and Derry. Is there room, and will Council be submitting within their response to the consultation the need for physical infrastructure for for sport and physical activity to actually happen? I feel that there may be an avenue there whereby additional resources might be able to be made available through that consultation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Karen, do you want to come in on that? Or?
Members, for those of you who have reviewed the document, obviously it is a cross-cutting sport and physical activity strategy across all of the departments at the Assembly, with also the expectation that there will be an outcome measure within the 1-year programme for government, which will support that work. We are feeding into it. Yes, obviously the physical infrastructure will be a key part of our requirement. We've been consulted, I suppose, as groups of councils through our Chief Leisure Officers Association, and we will have a further opportunity to input now at the start of May to receive feedback as to what the priorities are going to be. So we're quite happy to actively pursue that, to take further views from members and indeed from our Sports Forum and Sports Committee. If that's so, we'll put a call out for that to ensure that our response reflects the widest possible range of needs.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Councillor Edwards is looking on there.
Chair, thanks for letting me in. Just on the same issue as Alderman Hussey there, on the need for physical sport and infrastructure, especially in rural Strabane. I understand that Council may have plans or they have an ambition for a new, I think, a 4G pitch in rural Strabane, and I know the consultation on the play pitch strategy ended at, I think it was the end of March. I'm just wondering, will the results or the outcomes of that consultation inform where that new pitch will go? So that's the question I wanted to ask, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Edwards. Karen, go ahead there.
Chair, the consultation is obviously around the equality impact assessment process. So those returns are being analysed at the moment, and there will come a report to committee. In terms of informing the location within rural Derry, that will be part of the feasibility stroke business case process, where we'll look at various site options and depending on the benefits and opportunities and the funding availability, determine that final location. But that will be part of a consultation with this committee prior to any final decision being reached.
Thank you, Karen. No other indicated speakers, so everybody happy enough to go into confidential. Martin Riley proposed, seconder.
I'll second the chair, Rachel.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So going on the